Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Randomania Network, where we will be bringing you a round 2 bonus bracket matchup from the summer 2020 Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament. And the bonus bracket, of course, means that this is an elimination match. The winner will be moving on, and the other player will have to wait until the next tournament. And the summer tournament uses the standard racing flags, and this year's flags are slightly different than the last tournament. So we have the Scared Metal Slimes flag is on, so that they always have a chance to run away. The repel spell always works in dungeons, including Charlock and even Hawksness. And torches and fairy water can be used in battle. And this year we're using the version 2.2 Alpha 468 of the randomizer, and so Erdrick's armor can be in a chest, and the 3 search spots can now have any one of 7 unique items. This tournament will be completed in a double elimination format, and seedings were determined by SRL, so we have the number 20 seed, Cyberdark86, against the number 26 seed, jman1865. And the winner will face either F. Coughlin or Couch23 in the next round. And special thanks to Brian Williams42, the restreamer, and our tracker tonight, Mealy Wizard. Joining me is Midnight Moonlight. How you doing?
I am doing great. Looking forward to seeing what these runners find in this opening room and a great Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament match.
Yeah, we do have a torch that they can throw at a smaller enemy for some quick experience, but they are starting with 19 strength, so there shouldn't be any issues getting started. You know, the monster abilities are randomized, so they might run into 1 or 2 that put up some resistance in unusual ways, but for the most part, with 19 strength, they can 1 or 2 shot most of the enemies they'll find right near the castle here, and I think we saw a town to the southwest. But 1 point on the board for Cyberdark, and here's a magician. He'll use his torch on the magician for 6. The magician unfortunately has hurt, so it's going to be tough to finish this one off. And he doesn't get the low roll, he gets exact damage, and both runners, I think, ran into a magician, and J-Man survived with 1 HP, and Cyberdark took the exact damage, so unfortunate swing of events there.
Excellent, and that looked like an 8-12-2-11 with a spell. Looking over at chat, it kind of went fast for me. Might be an advantage there immediately.
Yeah. Oh, it lights up on the tracker there, so it's the outside spell. So if they do happen to find Tablet Cave or something like that early on, they can, use that outside spell to get out of the cave right away. And the Scorpion finishes off J-Man. He was down to his last HP anyways. I don't think either runner has bothered to check out what this town is. They don't have any money to start with. So figuring, maybe, don't really need to buy anything just yet. And there's another town actually to the south on the east side of this river. But a Drakima prevents Cyberdark from getting down to it.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. No money to buy anything. Why would we check out what town it is? I mean, it could be good information, but over here at J-Man takes out the Scorpion, gets the level.
And question in chat about the items in the throne room. The other item was an herb, so they had a torch and an herb. At some point, if they wanted to use that herb, it would heal them back up. They are dealing with some pretty low HP. We're on level 3 on J-Man's side, and it's still in the red, which is kind of unusual.
Exactly, and actually, as you were talking, he approached the second Scorpion, and that was not as accommodating, and he actually draws the wolf. That's probably not going to be a pleasant outcome there.
So it's funny, I caught this town out of the corner of my eye that's to the southwest, and I didn't realize until just now that you can't actually walk through there because the geography has like a diagonal intersection there, and you can't walk diagonally in the game, so that actually isn't accessible, except it looks like it may, this is more of a lake that might eventually wrap around, so it might not be too far away, but it's, for now, they haven't actually gotten to any of the towns. They're content with their pretty reasonable strength stat where they can just take down these magicians and scorpions and take the first few levels.
Oh my. And Cyberdark86 over there learning that scorpions have hurt more somehow.
And they also have heal more, according to what happened on J-Man's screen. So J-Man getting the better luck, actually taking down the Scorpion. I don't think he's even seen that hurt more. Must be a low percentage chance. He has seen the heal more, so kind of, wow, it's interesting. I feel like it's a little bit of difference in luck early on here, as Cyberdark still only has 6 experience points, and J-Man is off to the races here.
Absolutely, yeah. As he takes on the Drakey, takes out the Drakey. Yeah, he seems to be having much better luck with the RNG, with Cyberdark over here grinding on the red slime.
So here's another way maybe to get to that town is across this bridge. It goes up and around. There's a little bit of swamp, which does take away 2 HP per step through the swamp, but he probably can get there if he can avoid some of these stronger monsters out in the random zones. He's down to 4 hit points. He'll use his herb just so that he has a better chance to get to this town alive, and we'll see what it is here. Town of Breckenary has a weapon and armor shop here. There's an item shop in the lower right, and there's also an open fairy water shop. No immediate equipment that can be bought except for perhaps the clothes for 2 more defensive points, but there's some really good stuff for the end game. Flame Sword and Silver Shield available right here in the nearby town.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Motel 6.
So I'll be interested to see in the item shop if he just kind of loads up on torches here, but instead he's going to take 1 herb and can't quite afford the dragon scale, so he'll take a torch or 2 just for, like, I think probably, regular traveling to light up the caves. But if their strength score had been a lot worse, sometimes you'll see with the early town they'll actually buy a whole bunch of torches so they could throw them at the enemies, but I think that's not his plan here. There's a couple of caves to the south, though, and the other town on the other side was Hawksness. So all the luck not going Cyberdark's way in the early game here.
Absolutely. Was about to comment on that. He had actually successfully run away from some serious enemies over there, and only to find Hawksness. So not a great discovery for him, but it's great to know where that spot is.
So that first cave was Swamp South, and J-Man noped out of there. He'll make a note of that for later. Then he checked out the other cave that was nearby, and this is Mountain Cave, which actually has 5 available chests, and he wants to get to some of these chests, possibly to look for Erdrick's sword or Erdrick's armor, but most notably, you want to find a magic key, but unfortunately the enemies are a little too strong to get through there on level 4, so he doesn't get to the first chest. And Cyberdark had yet another cave off to the east of Tanticle, and he wasn't able to get there because he got taken down by a star wyvern. And so, will they continue to try and do this exploration through these caves, or are they going to grind a few more levels here? Cyberdark is grinding, and J-Man's exploring.
Absolutely. Looks like Cyberdark is going to take out that Drakima. No level on that one. And sadly, J-Man takes the death.
Yeah, Drakimas are pretty good value in the early going because they do give 20 experience, and they have lower HP. They typically don't hit particularly hard. This one happens to have the hurt spell, but if he can 2-shot it, no, not quite enough damage. And once again, doesn't get the low roll on the hurt. The Drakima high rolls him, takes him down with the hurt spell just before he can get the victory there. And I think that Drakima may have given him a level, or he's close to it. So that was pretty unfortunate. If he gets that one, he gets level 5. Now he gets sent back to the castle, has to listen to a lecture from the king, which, your time is ticking while that's happening, and you lose half of whatever gold you had amassed. J-Man looks like, I don't know if he was trying to run from that gold man or not, but...
By the way, the lecture from the king, that is amazing. This is the first I've heard of it. I will use it going forward.
Yeah, he's not really happy with you when he basically has to revive you, so he takes half of your gold kind of as payment for those services. And, yeah, he feels like you should be doing better than, letting the enemies kill you out in the world there. But in the randomizer, the enemies are randomized, so we're only a few steps from home, and we're seeing rogue scorpions here. We're seeing star wyvern, these are enemies that you typically don't see in the original game until you've made it clear across to the other side of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a fan of the vanilla game. Still, I don't know if I want to call myself a newbie to the randomizer, but yeah, finding star wyverns outside your house, that is a stunner, to say the least.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to get used to. Fortunately, the game in the more recent versions has been designed to have a friendly zone right where the castle sits. There'll be all weak enemies up to and including the scorpion. And then to the north and south, and then to the east and west, there are a couple of more zones that have the next weakest enemies up to the wolf. But if you step out just a little bit onto the map, all the rest of the zones throughout the whole map are randomized. So who knows what you'll be in for. So a lot of times it's prudent just to get a little bit stronger before going out too far. But on the other hand, if you do go do some exploration and you get lucky, you could find something that can really help you out.
Absolutely. Reminds me of the old bridge theory in the RPG games. When you go across a bridge, you just assume the next thing across the bridge will kill you. So,
Yeah, that may have even originated in this game, right? In the original game, there was a NPC that said something to that effect, and there were some bridges that kind of, you know, separated out the tougher zones, but it's possible that it actually originated before this. But yeah, this is one of the original JRPGs that kind of started off the whole genre, I think. And finally, the clothes pick up for Cyberdark. Neither runner really able to purchase much in the way of equipment to help him out too much, but Cyberdark did bring enough money to pick up the small shield to go along with the clothes, unless he had to choose one or the other. And one with the small shield.
I think he did choose clothes, looking toward our tracker to officiate that, but I thought he did. Might be
Yeah,
wrong.
all right. Well, the tracker says he only had 92, so he had to choose, and he decided on the small shield, which is actually a +4 defense, whereas the clothes is only +2. So it seems like a reasonable choice, and he's gonna make sure that he knows what these two caves are as well. One was Swamp South, and one was Mountain Cave, and this one over to the east is the Staff of Rain Cave, where if you eventually find the Silver Harp, you're gonna need to revisit that old man there. Turn that harp in, and he will reward you with the Staff of Rain, which is one of the key items that we'll need in order to access the final dungeon.
Absolutely. And Cyberdark taking the death over there, J-Man checking out the cavern. We'll see where
Yet
he goes.
another cave for J-Man. I mean, I think we've seen at least 4 of the caves on the overworld now, right? And not a whole lot of towns. They can't do much with Hawksnest just yet, and the only other thing we've seen is Garenham there, I think is what it was. And here is the Tablet Cave, which in the original game is that first cave that you encounter that has no monsters in it, and they intend for you to buy a torch at some point, wander through this cave, and eventually find a message from your descendant that kind of tells you what you're supposed to do in the rest of the game. In this one, it's just a random chest contents. In this case, it's a cursed belt, which you can go back to that town and sell it for 180 gold, but there wasn't a whole lot of equipment for that money.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you'll
there
probably
wasn't
hold on to it
no
for now.
there weren't no club or chainmail
Yeah.
or anything to really
Copper
be a
swords,
fan.
you can buy one for 180, which is a nice convenient coincidence, but yeah, there wasn't one in that town. The other thing a cursed belt does is it will tell you that one of the 3 search spots will definitely now have an item on it. And the search spots can have one of 7 items in this randomizer. It could contain Erdrick's sword or Erdrick's armor, or one of the 3 quest items, or it could have the death necklace or the fairy flute. And so one of those things is on one of those search spots in this seed.
And an interesting move over there by Cyberdark, he went into the cave, standing on the stairs, took a step and cast outside, aside from going the command stairs. So not sure. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe he saw something.
that one on the lower left actually was Swamp South. I remember J-Man's discovering it. And so when you have Swamp Cave, which is like a tunnel between 2 caves, anytime you cast outside anywhere in that cave, you'll go out the north entrance. So he actually skipped through the tunnel by casting outside, and he's actually on the other continent now. So that is a nice play by Cyberdark to save some time and get some exploration in on the other continent here before inevitably taking a death here. He's on his last few HP. They don't have any healing spells right now, which is notable. It's going to be hard to make too much more progress without finding some way of healing.
Yeah, thank you up to NG. Thank you for that. I did not know that worked with outside. But yeah, he was greeted with a green dragon for his intelligence there. Looks like he's exploring the northwest side.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised. They've made it pretty far out onto the map. J-Man's still only on level 5, trying to, get away from Rogue Scorpions. Cyberdark has reached level 6, but they're both pretty far out there, and they don't have a lot to work with. They weren't able to buy much equipment. Strength score in the high 30s or low 40s, but the defense score is pretty low. Agility being down in the low 30s means you're going to get run blocked pretty often, so it's going to be tough sledding here unless they find something that will help them out or they get another level or two.
Completely agree. And for those of you who have never done math on this game, which was myself, before I actually got attached to this speed gaming and Dragon Warrior randomizer, agility and defense matters. Yeah, so that can completely change the encounters that you get.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that agility stat factors in. It's when you don't have any equipment, your defense score is basically half of your agility score, and the agility also determines whether or not or how likely an enemy is to ambush you in battle, and also if you're able to run away from that enemy. And later on, when the defense score factors in, that'll determine whether or not you're defense breaking enemies so that they can do hardly any damage against you. So yeah, it is a pretty important stat, and a lot of times when you don't have great agility, it's a little bit tough to really make a lot of progress exploring the map. As we see, the golem here is typically a slower enemy, but Cyberdark not able to get away from that one. So they're so strong that if you can't get away, they're probably going to take you down when your HP is down in the high 30s and low 40s like it is for these runners. So really the stats just aren't really there, but they're going for it. They're trying to explore, and so far it just hasn't really worked out very well.
Yeah, so gee, what do you think the next step is gonna be? I mean, they can go east, maybe they can go south, find a cave or a town or something. They don't really have the gold for it.
Yeah, like to me, they've mostly found caves, and they haven't found any other towns except for Garanam, which unfortunately doesn't have any weapon in there besides the flame sword. So, mostly what you hope for is to find another town where you can buy a smaller weapon so that you can start doing damage to some slightly bigger enemies. Here's a town finally, and sorry, this is the same area. J-Man looped all the way back around, and is going to revisit Garanham, probably mostly to use the inn here. And maybe he'll take a trip through Swamp Cave like we saw Cyberdark do. But it's tough. If there's no town nearby, mostly you just have to kind of do what Cyberdark's doing and just stay near the castle and just get a couple of more levels to see. Maybe you'll get a good spell on your next level up if you get heal more or hurt more, something like that. It could really help your exploration.
Absolutely, or strength plus on double digits, maybe a speed plus double digits. That would help.
Yeah, all the stat gains, just 1 or 2 more levels, your stats might look so much better than they do now. Here's a wolf, which is usually a really good enemy for this portion of the game. And yeah, Cyberdark does manage to outlast it. Was worried that it was hitting him pretty hard because with only the small shield, they're still taking some pretty hefty hits from the wolf in the mid-teens there, but he had just enough HP to outlast that one wolf. It's 40 experience each, so if he can find that wolf a couple of more times, he can gain some quick levels here to to help with the exploration, a few minutes down the road.
We look at over here. J-Man seems to be stocking up on the herbs. Seems like he might thinking about dive here too.
Yeah, he knows that he doesn't have a healing spell yet, so it sounds like he is just really interested in doing some more exploration. And he did have an extra 100 gold or so, so he'll now have the small shield to go along with the clothes. The dragon scale that he bought and equipped is another +2, so he's slowly and steadily increasing his defense power, but still only 24 defense even with that equipment. So you're still going to get hit pretty hard by most of the random monsters. But having those herbs tells me that he is interested in doing more exploration. Particularly, I think he'll probably go through the swamp cave here and check out the other continent.
Yeah, I think that's the right move. As you can see, neither of our runners have a weapon. They're essentially punching for power. So the first available weapon, reasonable weapon, will probably be advantageous.
Yeah, it's tricky because you have to accumulate some gold either in one, maybe you'll get a nice gold out of one of these chests that J-Man's attempting to go through Mountain Cave. And then you have to try and carry that gold to a town, which they haven't seen any other towns yet. So it's all a little bit tough for them to get started with no towns nearby. And J-Man was one step away from the first chest, which could have something really valuable, but he gets the hurt more from the wyvern. Again, that agility stat just not working out for him. He gets run blocked by the wyvern when he tried to run away, and then it counterattacks with the hurt more spell.
That is unfortunate.
It's tough.
Wyverns have hurt more, so good to remember if you happen to encounter one later on.
Yep. And again, at levels 6 and 7, they only have 41 and 42 hit points total. And the Hurt More spell can do up to 45 damage to you. So, and the Dragon Lord Breath that we haven't seen much of yet, but that can do up to 72 damage to you in one attack. So, and the Golem here can punch you for pretty much as you have. So the low HP, just the low stats in general, we're seeing a lot of deaths from our runners. We have a death counter in our tracker. Looks like J-Man has died 12 times already and Cyberdark 13 times, so kind of a tough start for both runners, actually.
Absolutely. And the stats going out, with all the strength and all the power, seem like it would be fairly easy. And this is what's happened, and welcome to the randomizer.
Yeah, sometimes even though the first couple of levels went easily, doesn't necessarily mean it's continuing to be easy. So Cyberdark did pick up the sleep spell at level 7, so that's at least something. If you found a slightly stronger monster, like if you found some more of those wolves, he could actually start using the sleep spell to his advantage and have a much better chance of defeating it. But I thought that he may have already visited this cave, but maybe that was J-Man. So now he gets the knowledge of the harp trading cave right to the east of Start, and the golems are right over here. He's run into this golem in the same area probably 4 times now. So you kind of, I guess you want to be actually not too far east from the castle if you're looking for that wolf, because you might drift into a random zone otherwise. Looks like Cyberdark's just going to go in a totally different direction this time, starting his exploration. He does have the sleep spell, so he figures there's probably a handful of extra enemies now that he can take down with 48 strength and the sleep spell. If he runs into a specter or a wraith or sometimes like a wolf lord, something to that effect, a lot of those are susceptible to sleep and not too terribly dangerous. So, but so far I think he's actually still in the secondary zones because he's looping around close to the castle in order to get back over to Garenham here. Maybe he wants to check out what's in this zone to the west of the castle, which has a warlock among other things. Yeah, he's just wandering around here trying to see, oh, this is actually a random zone because we're southwest, and an excellent move on the wyvern for 64. Nice. And we see, J-Man using the stop spell against the wyvern the next time he found himself in Mountain Cave. And he's going to use herbs on the rare chance that the wyvern actually attacks him. So this is a great strategy. He isn't doing a lot of damage to the wyvern, but because his spell is blocked, the Hurt More has no effect. So great heads up play. He got defeated by 1 on his last trip in here. He figures, well, he had hurt more. Maybe I'll try a stop spell, and it landed. And that's a level up for J-Man. And I'm not sure if he actually made it to the chest yet, but he's back in Mountain Cave. Nope, he's just starting in Mountain Cave. Star Wyvern is probably a little too ambitious, though, so hopefully he can run, but with 38 agility, it's a bit of a coin flip here. Gets run blocked twice in a row and sent home.
Absolutely. Yeah, Star Wyvern, not the best one to run from on that low agility.
And Cyberdark actually was wandering around right near this town, found some wyverns and some warlocks in the wild. That actually seems like it could be a good grind right now with that stop spell strategy. But he'll take some of his additional gold here and go visit the item shop. Again, there's not really much that he can buy in the weapon and armor shop. Only the flame sword is there, so no weapon really available to our runners. This town and the town of Hawksness are the only 2 towns that have been found yet, and they've actually been pretty far out on the map. So a little bit tough when you can't find any other towns.
It could be. I would love to see this actually. There were 4 or 5 towns on a recent stream on the Dragon Warrior Randomizer. Feel free to go back and watch that on the restream. But that's where all the items were, and
they were all right next to each other. You mean, like kind of on the screen at the same time?
Yeah, you could actually stand on one tile and see 4 different towns. Yeah, it was amazing.
That is really funny. With all of that map out there, how it could end up doing that sometimes. It's funny.
Yeah,
Yep.
and to regards, I mean,
pretty empty though.
I mean, yeah, one was Hawksness, so I mean, does that
even
count?
So, yeah. And Cyberdark's back in Mountain Cave. They both kind of have, in a way, it's the right idea because there are 5 chests in here. I mean, Erdrick's equipment could be sitting right in here. You could end up finding a key that could give you access to a lot of things right now because Garenham is nearby, as well, of course, as Tentacle Treasury. So if they could manage to pull a key out of this dungeon, that would be huge. They've both been in here a few times now, and just they're getting bounced by these enemies. Cyberdark's just kind of doing a slow walk, hoping to kind of, manipulate the RNG a bit or something. Maybe sneaking through, hoping the monsters don't see him. And there's a fairy water in that first chest. Not exactly what he was looking for.
Yep, and looks like J-Man is trying to run away from this Wraith Knight. The Wraith Knight is not having it. He gets to run away. He uses the herb, and he continues exploring.
Yeah, that's another one it's almost a coin flip to run from a Wraith Knight. I think you might be a small favorite with 38 agility, but and the Golem, same story. I think you're only a slight favorite to run away. So, and when they counterattack you, they're hitting you for almost your whole HP right now. They still only have 42 HP at level 7, which is going to start being one of the challenging things if they don't start gaining some HP in the next couple of levels. So low HP seeds can be pretty tricky.
And actually, it's very interesting you talked about zones. So we encountered a Golem and a Wraith Knight, and now suddenly we're on Magidrakes and Wyverns. J-Man.
Every time J-Man has found this Wyvern, he is using the stop spell strategy, and it is working. So I haven't noticed if Cyberdark's been doing the same thing. Cyberdark has retaken the experience lead over the last few minutes. So I don't know what he's been managing to defeat, but Magic Wyvern, not one of them. He's going back home. You can actually use that sleep spell against the Magic Wyvern, but they're pretty strong right now. Again, it's another monster that can probably 2-shot you, so if they're waking up from that sleep spell, and there's no guarantee that they'll stay asleep at all.
And J-Man over there looking, that stop spell was incredibly the smart play. He blocked, I think, 2 or 3
he's in his zone here where they just keep popping up, so this is just like 64 experience each time. Whoops, that time the stop spell did not stick, so it has at least some resistance. So every monster has at least some randomized amount of resistance to stop spell, and the maximum amount is different for each monster. In this case, we see there, it happens to have 2 out of 16 chance to resist your stop spell. And we've seen J-Man cast it 4 or 5 times and miss that first time, that last time. So that seems to add up about. And it will heal whenever it gets a chance, and it will cast the hurt more as much as possible, according to the stats there. So, but that's a very interesting play. Whenever it's that heavy on the spell casting and a little bit on the low side with stop spell resistance, using that stop spell strategy is a very good idea. We were just talking about the Magic Wyvern, so we're noting the difference with their general stats. You can see that they're stronger, they have more HP, so they can hit you harder. This particular one doesn't have any abilities, it's fighting and fighting. So, yep, pretty much standard. And those other resistances are the standard resistances that they have. The hurt spells will always land, and almost always you can put them to sleep.
And J-Man over there trying the stop spell, it did not work, and he felt the sad effects of what happens when that does not work.
So Cyberdark, he doesn't seem to be using the sleep spell against the wolf, which is kind of surprising. Because if he takes this one down, he gets level 8, but no, the wolf has its own sleep spell and the fire breath attack, which I hadn't seen either of those before when he was fighting a couple of them earlier, but back to the penalty box goes Cyberdark, and it's still now just a very small lead over J-Man, and they're both continuing to venture out onto the map. Each has taken 16 deaths so far, so in many ways this is a very close race.
So up to G, you're far more experienced than I on the randomizer. You see Cyberdark taking on the lower level challengers where J-Man runs. Do you think that's going to make a difference late game? Do you think that's a good short-term strategy? I mean,
Yeah, I think maybe because he was just so close to that level, he was just picking off a couple of those monsters near the castle to try and get level 8 here. But a lot of times once you get stronger and stronger and you encounter really weak enemies, it makes some sense to just run away from them just to save on a few seconds of dialogue here. When you finish a battle, it goes through all your gold and experience, what you've earned and all that stuff, and you can skip all that by just running away from the battle if it's of almost no value to you. But I think in that case, he just wanted that level up, so he gets level 8, which gave him really not a whole lot. It looks like a couple of strength points. The hit points actually went up pretty well on level 8, so both runners getting it at about the same time. So now that they have 67 hit points, they should survive a lot easier now. Still no healing spells, though. Oh, this Spectre is a good... this is a good one to put to sleep sometimes as well. He's just going for the 2-shot or the 3-shot, so that worked out well as well. But they don't have any healing spells. They have each visited this one town that they have access to several times in order to restock on their herbs, so that they at least have some way to heal themselves. But yeah, it's kind of slow going when you have to keep walking all the way back over to this item shop and getting herbs.
looks like he's going to try for the Druid Lord.
Yeah, the Druid Lord is an example of a monster that actually has a lot of resistances. You really can't put them to sleep. So he took a couple of swings at it, saw that it was hitting him pretty hard, and he decided to run away. I don't know if maybe he could have gotten it on that next attack, but just decided he didn't want to risk it, and he was right near a cave. So ran away from that, and now he'll be able to go through this tablet cave that we saw J-Man do earlier for the Cursed Belt. So now Cyberdark will have the same thing, and you can cast outside as soon as you pick up this chest to save, half the time of walking in and out.
Absolutely. And J-Man encountering the Maggie Wyvern, burns the torch.
Yep, you can use the sleep spell on them, which he does, and you could try and take a swing at it here. They still don't have any weapon, so at around 7 damage, and now he's doing 4 damage. So they probably have 4 to 8 or 4 to 9 for a range. That's going to take about 6 or 7 hits unless you get an excellent move, which he does right here. And that'll just take care of that for 83 experience and a whole bunch of gold, so that was pretty good. I think he's already gotten this first chest, so he's going to just try and take this south branch here. If he can just get to the stairway, there's a whole new enemy set on the next floor, so he'll use his herbs. He's just trying to get... Oh, he didn't actually get to this chest before. It was Cyberdark who got to it. So that's the fairy water.
Yep,
And
actually in
stairway down
Cyberdark,
right over here.
yeah, Cyberdark, trying to find information, it's probably not going to end well. It might have been in immediate, so...
He just got swamp locked there, where I think he's out of herbs. He had no way of really healing himself, so just had to take more steps through the swamp, and that was that. So, yeah, and J-Man, I missed if he grabbed that bottom chest, but now there's 2 more chests right here. He's a couple of steps away. There are some pretty tough monsters in this zone too. Demon Knights and Knights are strong, and they're also tough to run away from, but they also got a really good agility boost on that last level up. So they do have 60 agility now. It's making it a little easier for him to just get right through this dungeon. Even though he's not fighting the monsters, he's at least running away pretty successfully now.
Completely agree. Looking at over a Cyberdark, he takes out that skeleton. That skeleton did 1 and 5. You know, no real threat. There's no threat to exploring this area.
Yeah, skeleton is defense broken with the 36 defense and the small shield, so that means that they can hardly do any damage to him now, that's a good enemy to find. The last chest in Mountain Cave, which is fully cleared now by J-Man, was the Fighter's Ring. So as long as he puts that on, that's +2 offensive power. And the only other item of note that I saw in there was the Fairy Flute. I missed what the second chest was, but according to our tracker, it's nothing important. So kind of a bust, though, as you know, one of the early caves that you have access to all those chests. You're desperately at this point kind of looking for keys, and they didn't find any. There's plenty of treasure available right at the castle and at this first town of Garenham, but they can't get through the door without a key. Cyberdark, 1 step away from getting through that swamp. I don't know if he's going to try it again or not. We shall see. Because there is a town down there on the other side. I don't know if it was... it looked like it might have just been looping back around to Hawksness, unless he's going...
Oh yeah, there's no way to know. He takes the Scorpion fight. I mean, it's free XP. It's not a lot, but there's no danger, so...
Oh, sorry, yeah, this was Hawksness that he just walked by, so he's going down to the southeast. This Droll Magi, you can put them to sleep as well. Cyberdark not really using the sleep spell as much as... Usually when you don't have any healing, you want to minimize how much damage you're taking in these fights. So he probably will win this fight, but he's taking a lot of damage in the process. And down goes the Droll Magi for 58 and 110 gold. But now it's going to be tough for him to walk through that swamp that he wanted to walk through. And now he's just kind of looking around for those skeletons.
I don't think he's going to make it, honestly.
And J-Man is 2 points away from another level up, so J-Man now has retaken the experience lead, although it's very close the whole time. It's been kind of going back and forth. It is still a close race. No new locations that have been very significant have been found by either runner, despite all of this exploration. So the Poltergeist does give J-Man the level up. 2 power, 10 hit points, no new spells. The hit points is kind of nice because it will put you now outside of range to get hit and one-shot by a single Dragon Lord Breath attack if they happen to run into one. But other than that, kind of another bust of a level up here. He's going to cast Outside and go through Swamp Cave and check out the other continent.
And J-Man finds a golem who is not very friendly, teaches him why he should not be there, and J-Man goes back to start.
Yeah, with this meager amount of gear that the runners are sporting, they're still taking huge hits from the endgame monsters like the golem. They just haven't been able to upgrade equipment. The one town that's nearby has things like the Flame Sword and the Silver Shield, which you can't really buy those things for a long time unless you, you find some way of opening up the seed with some keys, get a gold grind going, something like that. But right now, not much equipment available, so they're taking a lot of hits, taking big damage. Not able to punch these monsters too hard yet. And the death toll is rising, guys. Look at this, 17 for J-Man and 19 for Cyberdark. And
This is why I don't
orbs come
race.
from.
At around 20 is like my limit.
20
So
deaths. That's enough deaths, huh?
yeah, I've had enough. This is not where it should be. So yeah, that is yeah, we're good.
Yeah, every seed is different, and it's not like we're just running into red dragons constantly. It's like it's not that unfair. It's just that the stat and the spell progressions haven't really been very good, and there's no town close by. And we're gonna get a Spark Over Bridge search from J-Man, and oh, there's no item there, unfortunately, in this seed.
He does get the easy experience for the magician. Unfortunately, we're gonna hope he gets out of there. Droll is decent.
He's way up on the north edge of the map. A lot of the edges of the map in Randomizer are usually fairly flat, so you can kind of tell where you are. And yeah, he just that's a big long dead end. He's got to walk all the way through these hills, which is a high encounter area, but fortunately mostly smaller monsters. And Cyberdark is still kind of in this same general zone where the Wyvern has been. So you can use Sleep on the Wyvern, and then also the Stop spell is a good strategy, as we saw before. But mostly he's just attacking the monsters, and it didn't work out well there either. Back to the castle goes Cyberdark for death number 20.
Yeah, J-Man burning the herb, trying to get out of the Maggie Wyvern.
He's taken on the Magic Wyvern because they're highly susceptible to sleep. And it's staying asleep so far. Of course, when it wakes up, it'll hit you really hard. So now what you need to do is put it back to sleep and then use an herb to get you outside of one-shot range. He's 1 or 2 hits away from actually beating it, though. So there it is, another 83 for J-Man. He has he still has a slim experience lead.
Yeah, and perfection from your call. Cast Sleep, burn the herb, and then take a step and encounter another one.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's just a series of things. They don't have any healing really, except these herbs, and the enemies are just hitting them so hard that they only have so much HP. So, and now he's out of herbs, so now he just has to put it to sleep and just hope it stays asleep now. But this is really good experience. I think this is a good play that he's doing this instead of just running, because he's not that far from home, and he's going to get another one. So, yeah, nice fight there.
That
Cyberdark is attacking through the Joel Magi. Again, this is one that you can put to sleep pretty often. But he's punching through, gets the 58 for the Joel Magi. That's kind of the sweet spot right now. The Joel Magi, the Wyvern, those are good enemies to see. The Green Dragon looks probably a little bit too tough. As you can see, the ambush, that has to do with agility, although their agility is not that low anymore. So that's just a little bit unlucky that he got ambushed. But 21 deaths for Cyberdark now. Pretty brutal. And yeah, so what else? They have to find some other towns pretty soon to open up some possibilities. One of which, by the way, is the town of Rimmeldar, where you can just straight up buy keys if you can't find any.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very short on towers. We're very short on items. Yeah.
Yeah, the other major dungeon that I don't think they've found yet is the Grave, which of course only the top 3 chests are available until you have keys, but J-Man's going to restock. He did use all of those herbs and those Magic Wyvern Flates, so he's doing a good job of using the resources that he has, but then you have to walk all the way over here and restock every time. So it's slow going, but it's the right thing to do here. And he'll just take that the inn on the way out of here for only 6 gold at Breckenary, one of the nice features of this town.
Looks like Cyberdark over here ran from the Star Wyvern, engaging the wolf. Looks like he's looking for something.
Yeah, the Star Wyvern is still too strong for them, but the wolf, didn't the wolf have sleep and fire breath, but they must both be low percentages. So Cyberdark just fights through that one, gets 40 experience. No problem. Here's that swamp he keeps trying to walk through, and he keeps just not having enough resources, but now he's got herbs. And I kept
Oh,
thinking that this just loops back around to Hawksnest, but we're in a different area than I thought we were. So let's see what this town is if we can get to it. The Wraith is
I
a good one to try at this level. As long as it doesn't have any abilities, he should outlast this Wraith. It's about 42 experience, so I might as well pick that one off while you're trying to get to this town here. Still
I'm
got a couple
gonna
of herbs. You should probably
call.
use another herb here just to make sure he doesn't run into a tough monster and get sent home. And here it is. Oh, it's a big find for Cyberdark. So as we just mentioned a minute or two ago, one of the towns that was out there was the town of Rimmildar. And when you walk around the edge here, you find an open shop that sells magic keys, and he has enough money to buy about 4 of them here. So he can use 2 right away to open up the door to a chest that's in this town, and then possibly go back home and open the treasury and see if there's more gold in the treasury, for example. So things are really starting to pick up for Cyberdark. I didn't catch where he had to walk, but it was through a big swamp, and I haven't seen J-Man go that way in all of his travels. So while J-Man doesn't have keys, Cyberdark has a chance to take a little bit of an advantage in this race here.
Absolutely. Yeah, so even if he can't buy the cheap keys, he can buy the expensive keys. He can check the armory, as it were. So
And that
definitely a
armory
lot
actually
of
has
options.
much more reasonable gear. Let's say you go home and there's no gold in the treasury at all, so there's just not easy ways of getting money. Eventually you're going to want to come back to this town, because there was a copper sword there for 180. There's a chainmail available for 300. There's a large shield for 800. Those are all things that you could afford if there was no gold grind. Whereas in that first town, there was pretty much just the flame sword and silver shield available, beyond, like, the clothes and the small shield that they already have.
Yeah, and absolutely. If you're just joining us, your screen is not incorrect. Neither person has a weapon, and there is 1 clothes for armor.
Yeah, it's just been tough. They haven't been able to find any other towns for a long time until just now. Cyberdark went through a huge swamp and finally found one. Here's another town for Cyberdark. So, oh, wait a minute. Okay. So Garanham it is. There's a door here. He's down to 2 keys, but there's no reason why you shouldn't use 1 here. He'll check this shop just for future reference. There's a broadsword here. It's another thing to make a note of when there's no gold grind available. You want to know where you can buy a broadsword. So there's one of those in this shop, and there's a door here. There's 3 more chests in the back side of this town. So he should probably use one of his 2 remaining keys to check out what's back here.
Agree. And see what cave is back there as well. For anyone who is watching Dragon Warrior for the first time, you're going to watch him check these 3 chests, and then walk through the secret exit to see what cave is behind Garanham here.
So there was gold in one of those chests, and so it's an interesting situation now where, like, if he could get that open like 1 more time, or maybe 2 more times, he could get that broadsword. But the problem is he would run out of keys. But he does have enough for the hand axe, which is a really good upgrade over having nothing. So he'll start being able to damage some much stronger enemies in the near future now. So that was a nice play to recognize, grabbing that gold and then going back to the shop. The other chest was a torch, and I missed what the very first one was, but it looks like it might have been the Stones of Sunlight. So we finally have a key item in our our quest here. And here's a 4th chest in the back.
The magic key.
Magic key. So if there was another item in that shop, he could actually go back in there and get that gold chest again to see if he could, let's say, afford a large shield. I don't think the large shield was in this shop, though, so he's just going to continue on. So he's up to 2 keys again, so if he happens to need to use another key before going back home, he can
Oh,
do so.
wow. Edric's sword. J-Man. Over there in Cole.
Ooh, so he finds one of the other remaining towns. The town of Cole has something important today. Erdrick's sword. So the hand axe advantage only lasted for a few seconds, and now he's at a disadvantage again while J-Man is about to do some serious damage on some mid-game enemies. Still no healing, so you're probably going to want to stay away from golems and red dragons and those sort of things. But all those Magic Wyvern that he was fighting, those fights will go a lot easier now with the Erdrick Sword. Plus 40 attack power.
Yeah. I completely agree. What Demon Knights, Red Dragons, Armor Knights? Is there anything else for him to really be afraid of at this point?
Well, only because you don't have healing and the HP is only in the 70s. Like, I don't even know if I would fight a blue dragon right now. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could try a stone man if it stays asleep for you. So yeah, all of a sudden you can fight a lot of the monsters, but these middle game monsters tend to be susceptible to sleep, and in this case, he's had a lot of success with the stop spell strategy on the Wyvern. So recognizing though that he can probably just two-shot this one now, but there is an example. He takes a huge hit from the Hurtmore, and now he doesn't really have any way of healing himself except for any herbs that he might have. So. Yeah, it's still going to be tough until they pick up a heal spell. Now, he's very close to level 10. If they get a healing spell on level 10, all of a sudden, you know, your survival rate goes way up.
Up to G, do you know the amount of experience for this level? For 10?
Oh, 1,500 total, so this Poltergeist won't quite do it. He needs a red slime now, and he'll get it on the next battle. Meanwhile, and I missed it, I guess Cyberdark did check the treasury back home because he does have keys, and Erdrick's armor was in the treasury. So, sword for J-Man, but armor for Cyberdark. And he has access to the grave down below. And I didn't catch if there was a gold chest in the treasury. Maybe chat can help me with that. But if there's not, you can still initiate a gold grind the reverse way by finding one in this dungeon because it's attached to the castle. There's 3 chests here, and the first one won't be glitched, but the second one probably will.
So I see X for the recent level of J-Man 5149, if chat saw that as well, watching Cyberdark exploring. Oh, he finds Eric's token.
Yep, and we're not sure what this is because it's glitched, and we'll see as soon as he exchanges, drops the wings, and gets the wings. Okay, second chest was wings, and that was either an herb or a key, I think. Because, oh no, I'm sorry, he still had a room, so it might have been the fairy water. Well, he thinks it's herbs or a key. Let's see. And it must be at this point, otherwise it would tell him to remove an item. So he's loading up on either herbs or keys here. And it was keys, so that's a nice play because he was actually very low on keys because there was no gold in the treasury. So now he's filled up on the keys, but there hasn't still not been any gold. He's going to go down through the door here and see if he can survive the trip to the lower levels. There could still be gold down in the bottom, and he does have the outside spell, so let's see what happens. Remember, they saw a flame sword and a silver shield right next door in Garenham in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, and this is absolutely a great race. You see one side with Edric's armor, one side with Edric's sword.
This is brutal, though. Again, he doesn't have a healing spell, so all of these battles that go about like that, he's trying to get down into the bottom of this dungeon. It's pretty difficult when you just have like a few herbs and you're running into these enemies that are doing, you know, casting hurt more on you and stuff. But
yeah,
to the first one.
Oh yeah, I mean it's which do you favor? Do you want heavy defense or do you want heavy offense? And these two runners have each other.
Yeah, I agree. And J-Man had reached level 10 a minute or two ago, and there are still only 3 spells in his arsenal, and none of them are healing or hurt-related spells. So, yeah, 10 levels in, and that's what we have to work with. Fortunately for him now, he does have the big stick, so he's able to just swing and take down some enemies without a whole lot of problem. There's gold in this 4th chest, Moonlight. I probably mixed it, right? What is it? Midnight Moonlight, yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, what he's doing here, because the all of these chests are attached to Tanticle. He never went out onto the overworld, and since the game can only remember 8 chests being opened, this is the 9th chest now. Beyond the 2 that we saw glitched up above, so I guess this is the 11th chest. And so now, since it's gold, he can get as much gold as he wants. Interesting decision here now. He is going to have to decide if he wants to continue down in this dungeon and go for the 5th chest, which might be something important, or if he wants to like cast outside and just make a run over to the town so that he can get his gear, and then maybe run back in and then take care of that last chest like when he's fully geared up. So I'm kind of curious. The third option is that he can get double the gold that he needs in case he dies. Then when you lose half your gold, you still have as much gold as you want. But that would be something around 50,000 gold, so that takes kind of a while. So a few options for Cyberdark. Let's see what he does.
Yes. Yeah. So I suck at math. So Cyberdark is continuing to take gold.
He's getting double gold here, so it's an extra like 2 minutes or so based on how much gold he is going to end up taking. But he wants to go down to try and get the last chest, and by doing so, he aborted. He stopped at 30,000, so not exactly. I guess in case he dies, he wants to at least have silver shield money, which is interesting to me because I kind of like, in this situation, I feel like the flame sword is more important. But anyways, that's his plan, and he's heading back down for the 5th and final chest in the grave.
I'm with you. I mean, silver shield is pretty obvious. Flame shield, or I'm sorry, not flame shield, it's flame sword. Yeah, that seems pretty obvious too.
If he just makes it around this diamond, and there's a lot of small monsters down here, so yeah, it just needs to get a few more steps, and we'll see what this last chest is, and if it was worth all this effort to get down here. Let's see. It's the Axe Ghost. So it's not going to be anything too exciting. Probably the Death Necklace is the best scenario, but it was just the Dragon Scale, which he already had one of those, but he can cast outside, and he'll have plenty of money to make this walk. There's the town right there. Of course, you can't walk diagonally through this little geography here, so he's going to have to make this trip around and hope to not find too many tough monsters in the random zones while he loops around.
And yeah, Jerky Man, not bad. He runs away.
He does pick up level 10 en route here, just he was 1 scorpion away, so there wasn't actually much in the way of stats. I guess they did get the 12 power, so that'll help a lot, especially since he still has the hand axe. But what else? 91 hit points is getting a little bit more comfortable. If they could ever actually just get a healing spell, they would probably stop dying entirely. Although we've seen J-Man actually make pretty good progress without going back to the penalty box in recent memory here.
What is the sleep show you've seen talking about?
Here's the Silver Shield and the Flame Sword for Cyberdark. Yeah, and that he was using that sleep strategy against the Magic Wyvern. It's a really good enemy to run into when you have the sleep spell and the Erdrick Sword. I mean, it's pretty ideal. So I don't even know if he's putting it to sleep at this point. And he's going to get level 11. Let's see if he finally gets the spell. Pretty meager stats. And the heal spell, hooray! We have a way of healing, at least in our travels. Not so helpful during battle in most cases, but pretty helpful, between battles. And here's Sharlock, the final dungeon of the game, up to the north of where he is. But it's funny, the difference in gear. He had gotten the big stick, but now he doesn't really have much in the way of defensive equipment, J-Man. So his defense is down at 47. Whereas Cyberdark's at 82, so he's actually defense breaking this Magic Wyvern, for example. So he doesn't even have to bother putting it to sleep. The Magic Wyvern will do almost no damage when it attacks you. So all of these kinds of monsters are well in play now for Cyberdark with this gear that weren't really in play for him as easily about 2 minutes ago.
Completely. And also, if you look at when he walks across these swamp or damaged tiles, does not take any damage.
Yeah, one of many excellent features of the Erdrick's armor that, depending on when you get it in the game, it can just be a huge boost to your progress. Like, he's taking on this Rogue Scorpion now with no problem. Among other things, if he does take some damage during these battles, Erdrick's armor lets him heal walk between battles. He's gaining 1 hit point for every step that he takes, so not having the healing spell is not hurting him nearly as badly as it was for J-Man earlier.
And just for those joining us, this is every tile, correct? Outworld or Underworld?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was that?
Oh, just making sure, like when they have Edric's armor, whether it's Outworld or Underworld, it's 1+ AP, right?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in the dungeon or on the overworld. You always get the heal walking. Yep. So
Awesome.
it's actually a pretty important strategy when you're in Charlotte Castle. A lot of times there's really tough enemies in there, and if you're trying to run from them and you get blocked a couple times and you get hit, you'll usually take advantage of heal walking between battles in order to save on your the resources you need for the heal Morris that you're gonna need for the Dragon Lord. So sometimes now in the newest version of Randomizer, you'll have situations where the armor is in Charlotte Castle, way down at the bottom in the treasury, and that makes the final descent much more difficult because you're not heal walking between battles, so it's hard to save the magic. So it's definitely a very, very useful piece of equipment.
Oh, awesome! Thanks. And just watching J-Man walk through that swamp with Edric's armor, that would have been far more friendly.
Yeah, just that 5 to 10 minutes where J-Man had found the Erdrick sword and Cyberdark was still with the hand axe kind of enabled him to amass this little bit of an experience lead. They were really very even for most of the race, and now it's just like 400 or 500 points. Still a pretty small lead in terms of experience, but he did have that brief opportunity where he had a good weapon advantage. Now with the flame sword on Cyberdark's side, it's fairly equal again, so of course, Cyberdark's going to eventually want to find Cole so that he can get the Erdrick sword, but it's not so much of an emergency anymore. And we did see the Rainbow Drop Cave on one of their screens, so when they do end up getting the Silver Harp and they exchange that in, well, at least on Cyberdark's screen, the Silver Harp's the last thing that he's going to need in terms of quest items. There's a different cave where you have to trade that in for the Staff of Rain, which we saw at the beginning of the game. And then you got to go back over to that Rainbow Drop Cave to get access to the final dungeon. And here is a chance to get some coordinates for another overworld location, and that is pretty countable, guys. 12 and 12. 12 south and 12 west. No need for the princess to be involved. It is up and around that little geography when you have to go back over towards Garenham, but I think our runners should be able to handle that.
That's actually pretty nice.
So that's since there are coordinates. Do I keep saying Garenham? I keep meaning Breckenary, so sorry about that. Thanks for correcting me in chat. The first town that they found in the beginning of the game was Breckenary, which had the flame sword and the silver shield, and it's just southwest of Start, and that's going to be about where those coordinates lead Cyberdark when he ends up back home. For now, he just wants to continue his travels. There's no real emergency. He's got his gear for the most part that he needs, and he just wants to make sure he's not missing anything on this part of the map. But yeah, since there are coordinates, there is guaranteed to be one of 7 items laying there in the overworld. So it's always either the Erdrick sword, the Erdrick's armor, one of the 3 quest items, or the fairy flute, or the death necklace. In this case, we already know where 5 of those other items are, so it has to be either the silver harp or the death necklace on the overworld. From our perspective, of course, the runners don't have all that information. All right, so here comes the count for Cyberdark, and he is going to have to kind of detour his count up and around, or maybe just possibly landmark it. He might want to just count over here to the intersection of these two coastlines, and then just like remember these coordinates and just count across, walk around, landmark it, and pick your count up from the other side, which looks like it's what he's doing because he's not slowly stuttering. So I think that's the best way to do it, which is a good move by him. He's going to go back over there and just resume his count from the other side, and we'll see which one of those two items it is. And if it's the silver harp, he'll have all the quest items in his possession now, when J-Man doesn't have any, because I think he still doesn't have keys. Yeah, still no keys for J-Man. This is really deep into a run with Erdrick's sword and having lots of experience and seeing probably 10 or 12 overworld locations. You still haven't found magic keys, and I think that Rimuldar is required because we saw the contents of the top levels of the grave, which was key locked anyways, but the mountain cave didn't have any keys.
Oh, the silver harp.
And it is the silver harp. Yeah, wow. So he's got all the quest items. J-Man's got some catching up to do. He finally finds Rimuldar. So he has keys, and while he's running around opening all these doors and raiding all these treasuries, Cyberdark will have a few minutes to retake the experience lead here.
Oh, he took us a fairy water too with the average armor, no damage. This is gonna be easy turning.
Yeah, and remember the Silver Harp Cave was just right over here to the east. I think he's going there now. I don't know if he was the one that saw the Rainbow Drop Cave or not, but when he ends up finding it, or if it, in his travels, now that he has this task done, he'll be able to just get the Rainbow Drop done the next time that he finds the Rainbow Drop Cave. So smart play to just go right over here and get this task out of the way. So upgrades the harp to the staff, and now he officially has all the actual quest items, which it's the Staff of Rain and the Stones of Sunlight. It's the sun and the rain combined to make a rainbow drop. So that's how it works. And where's he going to go next? Because he's actually been to a lot of places now. I think Cyberdark full cleared the grave, full cleared Mountain Cave, if I recall. He has been into Coal and into has done the overworld location. I don't think either of our runners has defeated the Hawksnest monster yet, so that's one more place to be looking for the sword from his perspective. So he hasn't found Coal. That's the last thing Cyberdark needs, is just to find the town of Coal in order to get the sword, and then it's just Rainbow Drop Cave and grind for more levels. So a pretty good exploration advantage for Cyberdark. So can he convert that into an experience lead?
Looks like J-Man over here encountering the green dragon.
Yeah, this green dragon will give him level 12 if he's victorious, so he's pretty much damage racing. They don't have heal more. They do have heal for in between battles, but he does take it down with Erdrick's sword. Here's level 12.
Absolutely.
And picks up one spell, and it is Heal More, which is a very nice spell to have right now. He's got Erdrick's sword to do the damage. He's got Heal More to take care of any wounds that he might suffer. So now he can take on basically every enemy in the game. I haven't seen a lot of the Sharlock monsters sporting the Sleep spell, for example, which is probably the primary way that he could still have a problem. He also doesn't have Erdrick's armor, so Dragonlord Breath would do a lot of damage against him right now, but we haven't seen a lot of Dragonlord Breath on the monsters in this seed, so seems like he's more or less invincible for the time being now with the Heal More spell, so. And still maintaining that lead over Cyberdark, even though he still hasn't rounded up all these items. some point he's going to want to revisit Garenham, right, and check out the 3 chests there. I think that's what he's closing in on now, right? So yeah, here's Garenham. So he's got some treasure to open back here. And at some point he's got to go home and check the treasury, which is where the armor is, back at the starting castle. And then he'll probably take the time to clear out the grave. But first things first, Stones of Sunlight acquired from the town of Garenham, so the first item is in the books for J-Man. I forget what was back here. And Rainbow Drop for Cyberdark, while J-Man's going to clear out the bonus cave chest. So Cyberdark has the Rainbow Drop and the Erdrick's armor, just doesn't have Erdrick's sword. We're starting to run into kind of an interesting scenario where he might stop looking for the sword and just hope that it's in Sharlock. We know, of course, that he needs to find the town of Cole in order to get the sword, but you wonder if he'll just go and find a grind instead, especially once he gets this level and he gets heal more, which means that you can fight all of the grind tiles pretty easily. And here's the actual front side of Sharlock. I think we saw it from the back earlier. Is it blocked off, or can you just walk on by? I guess you can just walk by. So, He's just going to go into Sharlock, and I think the purpose of this is to hope to get some experience on good monsters, which is why he's going to the right, which you would pretty much never do otherwise. But if he wanted to attempt to start diving down, he could probably be looking for the sword down in the treasury. But I think mostly he just wants the information. Without the heal more spell, it's a little bit difficult to get down there, I suppose.
Yeah, completely agree. The fun police are out in force on the first
yeah, he has
level.
no heal more spell, so he had no choice but to just keep attacking and hoping to do enough damage. If he had Erdrick's sword, it probably would have been enough, but he just has the flame sword and was just short of doing enough damage to that red dragon. But he gets a little information, probably isn't going to mess with any kind of a sword dive while he doesn't have heal more, but he'll be picking that up in just another couple of 100 points here. J-Man has extended the lead, meanwhile, to about 900 points. And I didn't notice if J-Man went back to start yet. I guess not. Not yet. Because that's where the grave is as well. So there's like 9 chests waiting for J-Man to open back at start. And I'm not sure what else he hasn't seen yet on the overworld. But here's Hawksness. The only item that could be here is the Death Necklace. The Death Necklace also can be in Sharlock, so... first things first, he'll want a favorable Guardian here. As we just saw, he probably doesn't want to see the Red Dragon. He does have the flute in case it's a golem. It is the golem, and he does have the flute. So now you just need this golem to stay asleep for a few turns. If he doesn't get good sleep luck, he still can't be successful here. But if it does stay asleep, this is beatable.
Nice rolls.
Oh, this golem's taking a long nap. This is pretty good, and he's going to take it down with no problem. He might want to grind this enemy for a few minutes if it's going to be that easy. But meanwhile, 4 more power, and of course he's going to learn the heal more spell, and a bunch more MP, and he does grab the Death Necklace off of this spot. He was hoping for the sword, but Death Necklace, in theory, it could come into play later on if the strength score doesn't go up anymore. We're at 75 strength. If we get a lot more HP, that could be a useful item. I don't think J-Man has seen Hawksness yet, so... And he is doing what I thought he might do, which is to do a little bit of a golem grind here, since he's here. Try and cut into this 1,000-point lead that J-Man has. I'm assuming if J-Man's still running around out here that this Hawksness is what he's looking for, because I don't think he's seen it yet. And, like, there's a lot waiting for him back at home. Okay, he finally does cast Return and goes home, because there's a lot. He's going to get Erdrick's armor out of the treasury here, and probably is going to be searching the grave for the remaining quest items. As Cyberdark starts to cut into the experience lead by fighting more golems. They're worth 255 each. I haven't noticed if he's been totally abandoning the flute strategies because now he has heal more. But that's kind of like preference of the runner. Some people like to use the flute and some just don't bother with it.
I have seen him using the flute intermittently, but other times he just seems to go for it, but he keeps winning, so why not?
I think one of the reasons he sees now that the golem is casting hurt every so often, which is really good news. That means that he doesn't have to heal in between battles, and he probably doesn't really need the flute as much because he's just not going to take very much damage. So these battles will go a lot faster, and he won't even need to heal like more than once at every battle maybe. He's taking slight risks when he's swinging in the high 30s. The golem, I think, can still do about 40 damage based on the 84 defense that he has, possibly 39 at this point. And there are the stats. They hit pretty hard, only 25% chance to cast hurt. And when they get into their bottom 25% of their HP, they can cast heal, but only occasionally in this case. So thanks to Melee Wizard, our tracker, keeping us informed. And thanks also tonight, Brian Williams, stepping up on the restream on short notice. This was scheduled pretty recently, so Brian Williams handling restreaming duties tonight.
And when you look at those stats, not a terrible golem farm, to be honest.
Yeah, because with the hurt coming in there once in a while, it really helps. Now it is only at 25% hurt, but just like that, I think Cyberdark may have just caught up on the experience lead. And hurt more has been learned on level 13. I don't think either of our runners checked the spike tile in the swamp cave, but there is another option there, which is right near start, that now that you have hurt more, it might be a nice grind. Although this grind is going pretty well for Cyberdark. He'll probably stay here just until he runs out of MP, and then just will take a Death Warp home. And while J-Man is still looking for these quest items, Cyberdark came back from a 1,000 point deficit and now has the experience lead. And give our two runners a follow, guys, if you haven't already. They are doing a great job tonight, and always want to make sure you know when anybody's running one of these games if you're interested in this one. There's some good links for you. And he dies during his grind. I think he may have had a little bit of MP left there, but it's not that big a deal. He's still going to want to look for the sword, and now that he has heal more and hurt more, I wouldn't put it past him to actually try and dive Sharlock again, since he hasn't seen Cole and doesn't know where it is. The other thing is to go check the tile over here on the Swamp Cave, which is just right over here, and see if that's like an Axe Knight grind, which would go really quickly with the town just right there, and with hurt more at your disposal. So he's going to check it out. He was hoping that he had a torch because they don't yet have Radiant on level 13. But he's going to navigate his way down and try and locate the... I think he's trying to find the spike tile, but it's a little tricky to do this cave in the dark if you're not used to it. It just happens to not have any torches.
It looks like J-Man is trying to kind of counter it out. It's not going to work that easily for him.
Oh, Cyberdark knows the path to get to the spike tile from the north, so he cast outside in order to get like an approach from the north side. And here it is. Here's the spike tile. It is an Axe Knight grind. So, interesting turn of events. Don't really have to be going back to that golem when you have this Axe Knight about 6 steps away from a town. That's pretty good news. Now, of course, you have to go out the south entrance. It would be even better maybe if you could cast outside and get to this town, but that takes you out the wrong side. So you do have to walk up and around and down, or you could just go ahead and take your Death Warp. It's not too not too far away from start either. But this is a great grind situation for Cyberdark. I am kind
And
of curious how long he's going to go before looking for the sword, though.
J-Man actually finding his silver harp over there in the search spot and getting a star wyvern for his efforts.
Oh, that's good news for him. So he did some of those tasks that start pretty quickly then. I didn't notice him go through the grave and everything, but yeah, if he has the token and the harp, he's about to trade in the harp for the staff right here at this cave. And he, I think, knows where the Rainbow Drop Cave is, and he's not that far behind Cyberdark. So this is actually becoming a pretty close race, because remember, Cyberdark at some point is going to want to go looking around for the sword, unless he's just banking on getting huge stats on one of these levels.
And I think you're correct. And as you were talking, that harp was traded in for the staff, and if he knows where the jerk is, can get that drop pretty easily.
Yeah, and it's possible J-Man might never bother with Hawksness. We'll have to keep an eye on if Death Necklace comes into play eventually, but so far it's not looking like it's that important. We do have level 14, which only gained 2 more hit points, so yeah, it's probably not going to be a Death Necklace situation. Strength now is in the orange, which means we're starting to get close to Dragon Lord eligible. He would have 125 attack power right now if he had Erdrick's sword, and there's a lot of magic. This is probably a winnable fight. It's just that 94 HP, a lot of runners are not very comfortable with that. It's kind of nasty. You'll have to double heal occasionally in the Dragon Lord fight. So it's really an interesting. If he had the sword, I kind of wonder if he would be going for it now. But he doesn't have the sword, and it's pretty borderline, so he's just grinding.
Yep, J-Man going to stay at the Hotel 6, has the rainbow drop. We'll
The
see
fact
where
that
he
Cyberdark
goes.
is actually still grinding on such a borderline stat, by the way, I have this suspicion that he is just hoping that the sword is in Sherlock, and he's going to attempt to grab it en route to the Dragon Lord, which we know is not going to work out well for him. So that's kind of my read on the situation, because you're so close stat-wise that if you were going to be looking for coal, you'd probably want to do it now. But the fact that he's just grinding here, to me, means I think he's just waiting for go time stats, and he's just going to hope that the sword is down there in Sherlock. Alright, so J-Man finally did take care of those tasks of putting the rainbow drop together. He was a little late getting keys, and so he was a little bit late rounding up all the items, but now that that's done with, he's joining Cyberdark on the same grind, the Axonite tile and Swamp Cave. He's just about, I don't know, 1,800 points behind, which is really on an Axonite grind, that's only like a 3 or 4 minute deficit. So depending on if Cyberdark ends up doing a dive down for the sword and it's not there, that would take longer than the 3 or 4 minutes that we're talking about here. So it's anyone's race, kind of depending on how Cyberdark handles this sword situation and what he gets for the next level. Yeah, question in chat about the Death Necklace usage. Typically, you do want around 129 to 130 minimum for the Death Necklace. 129 in the latest version will get you down to 97 hit points, which is enough to survive 2 Dragon Lord Breath attacks. So runners typically look for that. If you have a few points less than that, it probably would still be okay in many cases. You'll just end up having slightly less HP. But they're not anywhere near that. Right now, the strength is so close that it would be very unusual for this to be a Death Necklace seed. But we are 1 or 2 Axonites away on Cyberdark's screen from finding out. Unfortunately, he can't get the very last few experience points before the level. It's always such a bummer to take that death right before the level up when you think that this level is going to be the one. because now you have to somehow get these last few points and then probably in some cases go back to an inn for whatever MP you would have gained on the level up. In this case, MP is not a problem, so he could probably risk just walking towards Sharlock right now if that's going to be his plan. But meanwhile, I mean, it looks like he's just going to head back towards Swamp Cave instead. Maybe reloading on herbs, or hoping for the wyvern to pop up that he saw over here earlier in the game, or just some warlocks and poltergeists from the secondary zone.
Yeah, seems like some kind of farm.
It's right next to an inn, so if he gets the level just right here, then he could just use the inn if it's more MP, and go for Sharlock if necessary. And while he's kind of walking around doing this, and it's taking a little while, J-Man is catching up.
There's the level.
Right. So if he gets a lot of power here, he can win with the Flame Sword, by the way. But he gets 0 power. He does get a little bit of a buffer with the HP now, so you have to seriously consider going on 15 now that the HP is no longer, treacherous. It's in the green. You can get the Fairy Waters in this town of Breckenary if you wanted to use Fairy Water strats. So, I mean, I think that the stats are there in this spot. But if he assumes that the sword's going to be waiting for him in Sharlock, and he doesn't get any experience on the way down, it's not going to work out very well, because these stats are not good enough for the Flame Sword. So here comes some selling of equipment, or some, extra items so that he can free up space for some Fairy Water. For those new to this version of Randomizer, the Fairy Water, if you throw it at the Dragon Lord, it will do 9 to 16 points of damage against the Dragon Lord, or any other enemy except Metal Slimes, for that matter. But if your damage output against the Dragon Lord is expected to be pretty low, it's a common strategy nowadays to load up on Fairy Water so that you can get a few extra attacks with slightly higher range, in that 9 to 16 range, instead of, in this case, with Erdrick Sword, 125 attack power, you'd be doing about 6 to 12 damage instead. So you'll get a few turns where you can throw this Fairy Water, depending on how many he manages to buy before running out of inventory space. And then off to Sharlock will go Cyberdark. There he goes.
Yep, it looks like he was doing the math there and seeing if he should die, but it looks like he's gonna try.
And J-Man did not bother die. I feel like somebody could have tried it on 14 in theory. It's just that HP is a little bit iffy. I can see J-Man taking a turn, going to the inn here and taking a turn and going to Sharlock right now. Just getting the last few experience on the way, but we'll wait and see what happens with that. He is probably going to do his Fairy Water stuff right now while he's in Breckenary. Cyberdark back to the grind now?
Interesting.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, if you have too many places that you haven't checked and you really don't want to look for the sword, you can just go with the Axonite grind for a couple of more levels just to be able to win with the Flame Sword. Sometimes it's just one more level, and one level with an Axonite grind is maybe 4 minutes, so I don't know if that's on his mind, that maybe he wants to give himself a chance to win with the Flame Sword, but he does seem to be going to level 16, and he's got tons of MP to work with on this Axonite grind, so he should get it on this cycle before having to go back to an inn.
Although looking on our left, looks like J-Man going on the exact same grind, although he is a little behind.
Yeah, he's just only about 1,000 points behind now because Cyberdark had a little bit of slowdowns there during the grind. So I mean, in a lot of ways though, that I would give the advantage to J-Man just because he has the sword and Cyberdark doesn't. Now, since we'll have to wait and see if J-Man decides to go to 16, like Cyberdark also is going to 16, and then 16 happens to be a good stat game where you can win with the flame sword, then in that situation Cyberdark will be slightly ahead here. But it's only a couple of minutes either way, so this is a really good race right now.
Ah, fun times.
Yeah, when you get to this point of the race, it's hard to come up with more to talk about now. They're fighting lots of Axe Knights. They seem to be a very friendly Axe Knight in this seed, and you know, they're just using Hurt More strats. Most of the time you're going to one-shot an Axe Knight with Hurt More because they have something like max 67 hit points or something, and so you're covering their starting HP most of the time.
Oh yeah, and you saw J-Man over there. He broke out his stats. He thought about the math. He is continuing the grind. But yeah,
Interesting.
completely agree. Oh no, wait, do a man.
He might go on 15. I think he already has the sword, so the numbers are much more clear for him. And with the fairy water strategies, it should be reasonable. Now, the other thing is that one of the very first encounters we saw in Charlock was a red dragon. They have 84 agility, which makes them an underdog right now to run from a red dragon. And depending on your luck, you don't have a lot of HP either. If you get run blocked twice by a red dragon, you're already in a situation sometimes where you're going to be compelled to use the heal more. So this is not like a sure thing if he goes for it. It's technically doable, but a lot is going to depend on RNG here if he goes for it. So interesting stuff. Let's see what happens.
Oh, it should be fun. And looking over there to the right, Cyberdark kind of committed to the Axe Knight at least at 16. This should be a good time.
He's 1 or 2 Axe Knights away. Yeah, J-Man, I mean, I'm trying to follow the arguments in chat. I think J-Man's actually a pretty big favorite if you were to stand in front of the Dragon Lord right now. But he has to run this gauntlet of red dragons in order to try and save his resources here. Now, did we just get 16 for Cyberdark, or what just happened on 16? We got one more power, which is kind of disastrous for the flame sword strategy. We got one more heal more worth of MP, up to 128 for MP, and we got a little more buffer on the HP for a potential double attack or two. Still, with only the flame sword, I'm not liking it, but interesting. So he may actually just... He's almost out of resources. I wonder when he gets back to the inn and he has a chance to reevaluate, if he's just going to go to 17 and hope he can win with the flame sword. I'm not totally sure what's going on with Cyberdark here.
At the same time, over there at J-Man had a really rough run with some mobs. Could not escape easily. Has the red dragon.
Ooh, gets away from that one. I haven't seen him actually have to burn a heal more, so he just has been kind of heal walking on low HP. Sometimes that's a little dangerous because you could get ambushed by a red dragon and just sent home if you're walking around with 30 or 40 HP, but he has managed to hold on to the heal more so far.
You are correct. He has not burned a heal more so far. He has been quite lucky. No comms curse. Hopefully.
Well, if he can just get off this staircase, there'll be a new enemy set on the next floor. Maybe there's no red dragons down there. He's down to 32 hit points, and so far not even using herbs, but there is at least one herb used. He's going to try and heal walk the rest. So, yeah, he is going for it. J-Man is trying to get down there with the resources. Fortunately, the golem goes with the hurt spell, because if that run block there, he could have been punched really hard, but works out for J-Man, and Cyberdark is getting very low on resources. Looks like he's just gonna death warp instead of attempting to walk back to the inn. Maybe planning on fighting his way down, question mark. He has 92 defense, which means he's defense breaking enemies in Sharlock, such as the wizard, the werewolf, the green dragon, the star wyvern, and I don't know, is that it? Yeah, I guess that's it for defense breaking. So there's some pretty good things that he could pick off on the way down if he wants to go into Sharlock now. And he is making a walk in that direction, so here we go.
And J-Man continuing finding multiple Lulu dragons, somehow enabling the escape. And the final floor.
I thought Cyberdark was going towards Sharlock. He's just going back to the grind spot after death warping. And bottom floor now for J-Man. So he managed to get through the middle and the bottom zones pretty well. It's really just the red dragons we saw in the top zone so far that caused the most problems. So if there's no red enemies down here, red dragons and armored knights, he might be able to get there with full resources. In which case there could be... I think he's a pretty good favorite in the Dragon Lord fight. Now, there is always this issue of the mini-boss. There's one required fight you have to get through, which could easily be a red dragon, or if it's the golem, you do have the flute handy.
Oh, it's the AK.
With an ambush. Ooh, and they don't have very much HP. This could be interesting. You might be you might have a decision here on the last hit. Yeah, he is in the danger zone here. Oh, interesting play. He had it hurt more without burning a heal more. I didn't even think of that, and that is an excellent usage of the MP.
That is gutsy.
That was great. So now he gets there with all of his MP in terms of heal mores. He's got 1 or 2 herbs left for the Dragon Lord 1 fight. Let's see what happens, guys.
Here we go.
And I don't know if he bought any fairy water at all. The more he has, the more it would help him in the second form. For right now, he's using herb strats to hope that the Dragon Lord does some kind of a stop spell. He never got the silver shield, of course, so he was not defense breaking the Dragon Lord's first form, and therefore that physical attack put him down under 97 HP. So a little issue there, not having the silver shield. He's going to be able to get in, but without the ability to have 2 attacks. So we're starting with a 10, and now all of a sudden this fight is actually pretty close. Let's keep an eye on that while Cyberdark picks up level 17. I'll leave it to chat to kind of add up these numbers on the damage rolls here. So there's only 3 more power on 17, and 1 more MP, a little bit on the other stats, 119 for HP. I mean, Cyberdark... It's tough. I'm actually wondering if he's just looking at the number there and forgetting now that he doesn't have Erdrick's sword. Because sometimes you get in this mode where you're just like, oh, the attack power, it's almost there, and you just keep grinding. But now he's aborted the grind, and we'll have to wait and see what Cyberdark does. But J-Man is in the midst of this fight. How's it been rolling? Is he getting a lot of double-digit rolls here?
It's looked off and on, but I mean, I feel that it's kind of the norm. I mean, yeah, can't really count. I did not count as
the more double-digit attacks we see, the more chance he has to win. His attack range should be 6 to 12, so we don't want to see a whole lot of 6s. We want to see 10s, 11s, and 12s here. And on level 15, he only has 103 hit points, so the chances of a double attack are very slim. And there's another 6, so if this doesn't go well, I mean, Cyberdark is still in this race. It's starting to feel kind of close. There's an 11, though. Alright. Yeah, I don't know how these rolls are going, because I was watching the level up for Cyberdark there, but you're going to want to see a lot of double-digit attacks from J-Man. And remember also that Dragon Lord can have a range of HP, anywhere from 150 HP up to 165, and in this situation it could mean 2 extra swings required. So a lot will be depending on that as well. There's a 10. He still has 3 heal mores, so that's, I think, 5 more attacks.
Make it 2.
Now he rolls an 8. Second to last heal more for J-Man, while Cyberdark is running from battles on the top floor of Sharlock. There's a 7, probably not what he was looking for there. He's going to get a heal more and then most likely 2 more attacks to see if he can cover the range here. There's an 8, and that's not enough. Will he get it on the last attack, guys?
Wow.
Oh, it's a max roll of a 12. And he gets the Dragon Lord on the last possible swing. Down he goes. Level 15 was enough for J-Man.
GGs.
Get your GGs out. This is going to be tonight's winner, guys. jman1865 will get an official time in a moment.
Running at level 15, his opponent running at level 17. The last heal more, the last shot, and it's the winner.
Did anyone actually get a damage total on that? Because it was the 12. I wonder if that 12 on the last attack, he had a max roll for the last attack. So that was pretty clutch. So congrats to J-Man. We'll see if he wants to come in for a quick word.
So it was 12 the max
yeah, that
attack
was the max,
on that one?
on any attack. It was a 6 to 12 range. So, and he got his maximum on the last attack, which was pretty good. And joining us is the winner, jman1865. Nice Dragon Lord fight there. How did it feel?
Lucky as you could imagine.
And joining us
Were
is
you counting
the winner,
damage?
J-Man. Can you tell us what the damage was at the end?
Oh, I think 154, 156 maybe.
Oh man, so you got a max roll and it was like a 1 for 154. That
Wow.
is pretty sick if that was the case. Wow. Nice job.
Oh, I did not feel like I was anywhere in that race.
Did it cross your mind when you were healing up in Breckenary to maybe go buy some fairy water for that fight, or you just felt like you didn't need it?
I didn't say I didn't need it. I was looking at the numbers, and my thought about 60-70% chance, and I thought I was so far behind. You know what? Throw caution to the wind and let's go for it.
Nice. And we are looking at the stats now, and Dragon Lord did have 153 hit points. So if you actually managed 154 and you got it with the max roll on the end, that is just super awesome.
Yeah, because it was definitely last swing. Yeah, it hit the trap tile and it was the AK, and I was like, oh wait, I can do 1 hurt more and I still have my full 15 heal mores.
Yep. So interesting situation. Cyberdark actually never found the town of Cole. So it just didn't have Erdrick's sword. And so he's been actually grinding more levels and got kind of like caught in between, I think. Like he wasn't sure if he wanted to get more levels and try to win with the flame sword, and then the levels haven't really been working out. He's on level 17 now.
Oh, 17?
He's fighting through for 18. And
he's
actually he's making the side trip for the treasury, of course, hoping it's here, but it's not going to be. And then what does he do? He's going to have to try for 18. He does still have all his MP. So on his way over to the mini boss, he maybe can pick off some small enemies here, because he is defense breaking as high as an axe knight, because he did get the silver shield. So
yeah, I think I saw 2 different towns with it. I thought about it, but I thought I was so far behind.
Yeah, in your case, you had already gotten Erdrick's sword, I think, by the time you got your gold
Oh,
grind
yes.
going.
Oh, yeah, because I couldn't even start. I couldn't find
you didn't
the
have
stupid
keys.
armor.
Your problem was it took you a long time to get keys. It looked like the only place to get a key in this seed was the town of Rimmeldar, so you had to find that town. You were finding all the other towns and just not that one. So Cyberdark actually had quite a bit of an item lead on you. He had keys probably 20 minutes before you. But you had maintained kind of a nice experience lead throughout, so it didn't, and you did end up finding the sword in Cole, which helped you tremendously. Like if the sword
getting the sword early helped a bunch.
Yeah, if the sword had been behind a locked door somewhere, it would have been tough for you, I think, to catch up. But since you had the
hurt more to like 13, right?
I'm sorry?
We didn't get hurt more to like 13.
Yeah, and heal more too. You guys didn't have healing forever.
Oh yeah, and I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't find a weapon, and it's like I think I went from unarmed. Maybe I got like a bamboo pole, and then straight to the sword.
Yep. So yeah, finding Cole was huge for you. You got the sword out of there, and in Cyberdark's case, since he didn't have the sword, So when he got into the grave and all that, he did decide to do the gold grind. And of course, you know, the first town that you guys found had both the flame sword and the silver shield. So that's how he upgraded to his flame sword, and he got the silver shield at the same time. So the silver shield has been helping him here on the dive, but the lack of the Erdrick sword has kind of been haunting him for the last hour.
Oh yeah, I can see that myself.
Yeah, even right now, it's just like these levels haven't been good enough to win with the flame sword, so he's gonna end up getting 3 extra levels on top of what you ended up with, just because he didn't know where else to look to try and find coal. It was the only place that he hadn't searched, and I'm sure he was just hoping that it was down here in the treasury, but...
Oh yeah, you got to play the odds with six chests in the treasury. And then,
Yep.
Did he go dive the table?
Just now, he did it on the way, like on his dive that he was planning on winning with. He did search them all, and I didn't notice what was in there, but nothing important.
You got to take that shot. You got 6 versus 1.
And now he's down 1 heal more. It's just going to depend on what sort of a power boost he does get on 18, which is coming pretty soon. He's 1 or 2 fights away. But tell us what else you thought about the siege, man, and how you navigated some of those challenges. I think from where I was sitting, the big challenges early and through the middle were that you had low HP and no healing. So it was like I saw you go back into the item shop over and over to restock on herbs.
Yeah. Low HP, no healing.
You had like 3 spells, and you were the one that used them to your advantage. You were using stop spell strats on wyverns, and you were using sleep strats on magic wyvern.
Yeah, I was mostly just dangling for anything that might stick. And yeah, it seemed like stop spell worked on the regular wyverns because they seem to be 75% hurt more.
Yeah, I think it seemed like some of those early challenges were tough for both of you guys. We have 18 deaths listed for you and 26 deaths for Cyberdark, so you guys were having trouble getting started with that exploration.
And we started with like, what, 12 or 13 strength. That's like, 19. Oh, this is going to be a jet seed.
19. It was a good start. It just didn't really proceed from there. You weren't getting the spells and you weren't getting the stats, and you guys both tried to go out onto the map on levels like 5, 6, and 7, and just you kept getting bounced back.
Yeah, well, because that early zone. I mean, yeah, there was a forest or there was a desert there, but it was all like 1, 2, and 3 XP creatures.
So Cyberdark got what was the difference between 17 and 18 in terms of power? I think it might have picked up 5 more power, 6 more power.
Yeah, it looks like 6, 7, 8.
You could use the death necklace here if he wants. I'm not sure if he's going to during the fight.
127 HP, that'd be real tight.
Yeah, it would be tight, but it would put your attack power pretty high over the edge.
That's true, yeah.
All of the MP in the world. He's choosing not to use the death necklace. You can probably get 2 or 3 double attacks. So
124 hit points. He should get some doubles with the silver shield for sure.
Yeah, and he has actually 5 or 6 fairy waters. So I'm expecting this to actually go pretty smoothly. He only had to burn 1 or 2 heal mores on the way down. So now he has, he's got the 123 attack power with the flame sword, and he's got all this fairy water.
Yeah, it's like he's fairy water.
Not as clear as I was at first thinking, but he will get some double attacks as well. So we'll watch this.
You are correct. Up to he totally has those stats. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, see, because he didn't get the Erdrick sword, of course. So he is kind of not hitting. He's hitting about as hard as you were, J-Man. You had 125, which gave you a 6 to 12
I got a
range.
lot of high rolls. I'm not gonna joke about that.
Yeah, 123. You're actually talking about a 5 to 11 range. So this actually is not so clear. Hopefully he got some good rolls with those fairy waters. He's out of fairy water now. And he has to start swinging 5 to 11 here. You don't want to see a lot of 5s and 6s. He's down to 8 heal mores, so this could go either way. It is a low HP Dragon Lord, it just so happens.
Mercifully.
Maybe he'll get there. We'll see. This was a great race though, from start to finish. It was just, it seemed very close for the first hour, and just it was that divergence where he found the keys and started running around getting items, but you were the one that found the sword, and it was just that dichotomy that we watched play out, and the sword ended up kind of winning out in the end because he just never found it, and it just started caused him to grind these extra levels and just everything else. So
Yeah, but and with the hurt more at 14, that didn't help. So the sword was way powerful early on.
yep.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, the exploration and the finding of the items. I mean,
And
it may have been the complete difference, but it was definitely a difference.
So you guys who watched the whole thing, where was Hawksness?
I have trouble seeing where things are in the map when I'm watching both, but it was one of the last things that Cyberdark found, so I had to be pretty far away. It was he
Me
was
too, as I
towards,
went in circles at least twice.
yeah, he was looking for either Cole or Hawksness. He found Hawksness. It was a Golem Guardian, which he grinded on for a few fights because he had the flute. But it was guarding the Death Necklace, so he did find the Death Necklace there, which you didn't have.
And the completion from Cyberdark. Get
All
those
right.
GGs going on.
GG from Cyberdark. Well played to finish with the Flame Sword.
Yep, that's a hard way to run it. And definitely in advance, thank you guys for taking the commentary and tracking it up. I'll make notice on this race.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if we mentioned your official time, J-Man, was 1 hour 38 minutes 45 seconds, and we have the time now for Cyberdark was 1 hour 49 minutes and 10 seconds, and he will be joining us in a moment for an interview as well before we wrap it up for the evening. Real quick, happening happening tomorrow. There is currently, I want to say, only one. Oh, there's 2 races scheduled for tomorrow. So we have Jake Coper against Guelph 35 happening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on one of the Speed Gaming networks. And we have MYC Guy and Kigalis duking it out an hour later at 9 o'clock Eastern Time with on the Randomania network. So check those out tomorrow, guys.
Awesome.
Let's
Looks
see.
like
Do we
we
have
have
Cyberdark
Cyber.
here?
We do.
How do you feel about that one?
You know, it was a long start. I mean, it was an hour before I got any good gear, but the end of it seemed so good, I just couldn't find coal, I guess.
Yeah, that was the one last place. It looked like you were looking around for Cole and Hawksness, and you ended up finding Hawksness instead. That had the death necklace, and Cole had the sword, of course. You didn't know that until you were searching through Sharlock, and it wasn't there. But um, yeah, it seemed
Yeah,
like you just kind of played it like, well, I could spend 10 more minutes looking around for coal, and like who knows where it is, or I could just hope that it's in Sharlock and I can just grind some levels now and just kind of hope that it's there. And just didn't quite work out. But you did get a couple of extra levels, so you managed to win on the flame sword. So yeah, J-Man actually finished on 15, although it was a very close fight. But
wow.
he used some fairy water strats, or oh no, he didn't. You didn't have too
I
much
did the
fairy water. Yeah,
I did the not fairy water
you
strats.
just went for it, and he won on his last attack. So 15 was possible, but you had that. It seemed like you were kind of caught in between because you didn't have the sword yet, so you weren't sure really to really commit on stats like needing the sword, or maybe the next level will let you win with the flame sword. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I figured 17 might be enough, but I wasn't sure, so I figured, okay, I'll get 18 on the way down. Hopefully the sword's in there, and that'll give me more than enough.
Yeah, and you mentioned the early part of the star. Do you feel, or the seed? Do you think that was the most challenging, where there weren't really any towns nearby that had any gear that you guys could afford, and you had, I think, 40 or 42 HP on like level 8 or 9, which is a little low, and you just didn't get a healing spell like for a long time.
Yeah, and eventually, once I saw Rimmel there, I said, okay, I need to go and find the or get herbs and head my way down there because you never know. It could be a sword, could be an armor. Found keys
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah, you were the first to find keys actually by quite a bit. So you were rounding up the items, and while you were doing that, he did find Cole and got the sword. So he had that a little ways before you were able to put together that gold grind. But you did get the flame sword and the silver shield. So from there, it was more or less equalized. But um, Yeah, that sword ended up being pretty big in this one, unfortunately, for you just not finding coal, and that happens sometimes. So there's like a meme in the community like that coal doesn't exist. I think that's what happened here.
Yeah. Where was it anyway?
I want to say if you kept going past Sharlock all the way to the west, up against like the west end of the map.
Okay, yeah, I never went over there at all. When I left Sherlock, I think I died somewhere first time I found it close, and by then I had enough to get everything else I needed.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, from your perspective, there was no reason to go over there. You had everything you needed. Why go explore some meaningless point of the map? It just happened to be pointless or not pointless.
Yeah, especially after finding the death necklace in Hawksnest, it was like there was a good chance that maybe there was nothing in coal, right? So yeah,
Yeah, I'd only seen one cursed belt, so
yep,
took the chance. And of course, when I was going through the treasury in Sherlock, it's like, oh, there's the two.
yeah,
Crap.
more cursed belts. Oh well. And unfortunately, Cyberdark, this was an elimination race for this tournament. So your tournament has ended, but you did have the one victory over Neomech, right, in the first round. So it was not too bad.
No, I was about as far as I expected to get in this tournament. I'm much more for the league than I am this.
Yeah, looking forward to that in the winter, right, when we have some more variety in the flag sets being run.
Yeah, some
I
chaos.
hear you there, Cyberdark.
J-Man, you're going to be moving on to, I guess it would be considered the third round of the bonus brackets, facing off, I believe it's going to be the winner of either F. Coughlin or Couch 23, if you're familiar with those runners.
Oh, great. So nice, easy match. Awesome.
It only gets harder, I think, the further you make it. So
The
that's the
next
That's
match
nature.
would
true.
be either Angel or Raw Guy.
Oh, that's even better.
Yep. It's the nature of these bracket tournaments. It gets tougher and tougher.
I mean, at least
But
I don't have to worry about potentially facing Mr. Holmes. I mean, that could have been an option.
that's true. He's also in the bonus brackets, which is a shocker to everyone. But you notched your first victory of the tournament here, so you're moving on, and you got to start the streak now. You got to run the table.
Well, we'll see how that works out. It's a good hope, hopefully.
Very good. Any more thoughts about this seed or about the tournament? Anything from the runners?
No, just thank you everyone for coming together really quick. I know we only scheduled this today, but we managed to get a crew in time. So thank you guys much.
And seconding that, and thanks for taking the game on a late call up too, Cyberdark.
Yeah, of course.
What do
Nothing
you,
else from me. Just awesome game. GG's to J-Man, JG's Cyberdark, and looking forward to the next round.
Yeah, agreed. I do as well. All the races have been great so far. I feel like they're only going to get better and better. So, thank you to all the viewers out here on the Randomania networks. Definitely stay, following these channels and make a note of when the Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament races are happening. They seem to be happening just about every day right now in the early rounds, and the action's going to get better from here. Special thanks tonight to our restreamer behind the scenes, Brian Williams 42, for picking us up on short notice. Our tracker tonight was Mealy Wizard, and congrats to J-Man, and good luck in your next round. And yeah, so we already went through the schedule for tomorrow. There's a couple more races to look forward to. And that's going to do it for all of us here tonight, everyone. So have a good rest of your evening and see you next time.